am a talking head. I'm one of the people they interview, especially about the early history of DC. And I guess I don't know what they used of me. Actually, I haven't seen anything, but I'm up there, saying something.
What's your take on what has made the company endure as long as it's endured?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I think it's two things. I think there was some really smart management in the late 30s and 40s when everybody else was running comics as a fly-by-night business. They all assumed it was just a racket. It was like this month's racket, and we're going to get out of it. But Jack Leibowitz had this sense that this could be an actual enduring form, and these characters could be kept alive. So there's a sense of investment in long-term assets. That was the first thing, and then the fact that those characters, Superman and Batman particularly, but everybody, had this continuing pull. Somehow or other, we're 2010, and still liking these characters from 1938 and 1939. Very few pop culture characters have that generation jumping power. So it was those, and the fact that's wrapping it back, the fact that management, Jack and a lot of editors, had a sense that the characters might have that. There might be something here that you didn't just throw away.
Of the last 30 years or so, does the history of DC break down into any sort of particular periods for you? Are there kind of watershed moments?
Well, I think in a way, there was a long period that was just sort of playing out the stuff that happened in the mid-70s. There was the merger with Warner's and set some things in motion. There was kind of the Carmine Infantino period. But it's like when Carmine left, was in staff. And when Jeanette was brought in and Paul started to rise up through the ranks, I think there was a conscious sense that this has to get out of just the old boy network. This has to be a company that can change with the times, that can reach a mass audience. Certainly they had their eye already on Hollywood because the Superman movie was starting to rumble. So I think from that period, at least all the way through the 90s, was kind of playing out the same story. Dick Giordano came to keep following, I think, what Jeanette and Paul thought was a good direction. Then, of course, at the same time, the direct market was happening. So it was a whole new audience. And then, from that, it's like an unfolding. I don't see any particular drastic shift. Now it's, I don't know, everybody's maybe coasting a little bit, treading water a little bit, sort of waiting to see what the next, if there will be another major movement in comics history. But it seems like that one is kind of plateaued. We'll see what's coming.
What do you think is going to be the next big movement in comics?
I don't know, actually. Clearly there's been a shift already to the sort of backlist book as opposed to the monthly stapled pamphlet. And I think that's just going to continue. That seed was also planted by the early 80s. There was definitely being talked about at DC early. Let's use the bookstores. And obviously Hollywood continues to exert its tremendous influence over material. Although what's nice is that now that Hollywood's doing more than just the top couple of superheroes, there's this sense that the other stuff has a value. Just some of the new stuff, some of the Vertigo stuff, is getting turned into something. So I don't want to predict the end of the monthly comic. I think they've got a ways left in them. But I do think that seems like an almost inevitable outcome of what's happening.
How do you see this shift from print to digital affecting things?
It's still a little murky. 10 years ago I was expecting more impact from the digital world, and now it seems not to be that major. Partly that is, I think, that the income streams and the prestige and everything else is still sort of about the paper product. And I don't see that really budging. So the best work is going to continue mostly to happen in the paper product. But the whole book industry is looking at things like the Kindle and the iPad as the future. And
DC's app didn't happen until 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so this could be a big shift. On the other hand, maybe it's the same stuff, just distributed in different forms?
Well, one thing Jim Lee had said earlier was that he thinks we'll see the big shift once creators start thinking of digital as the medium. Once it's the digital isn't just the paper stories on the screen, but the stories are being written for digital to take advantages of the capabilities that digital has.
And I think people will start to show up who do that. Get a sense of the different aesthetic. Although it's interesting how even with the Kindle, that template of the book, the lines of text, one page at a time, is still there. So you wonder to what extent this is just going to be a different delivery system for some things. I don't know. Comics have a little more room to sort of open out. But I think a lot of the things that seemed like they might happen, like more use of flash animation and interactivity, I don't think they're really going to happen. I don't think people really like very much interactivity.
There's a point at which it just becomes liquid animation.
Yeah. And so if you want comics, you're going to sort of stay with the same form.